Last year, the FBI released a horrifying statistic. In 2020, at least 4 black women and girls are murdered per day in the US, and FBI suspects that this number is actually an undercount and that there could be many more that just go unreported. Today, we will cover the case of Tioni Theus, a 16-year-old perfect student who unfortunately was a casualty of this statistic. My name is Sophia Talley, and this is True Crime in It. On January 7th, 2022, 16-year-old Tioni Theus was last seen leaving her father's home in Compton, California. She was on her way to a party. Tioni Theus was last seen leaving her father's home in Compton, California. She was on her way to a party. Her father, Darian Jackson, recalls that he did not want his daughter to go out that night. He says in an interview, "I had a feeling that something was wrong. I begged her to stay." End quote. And guys, you may think I'm weird, but I am a firm believer in parent intuition. I don't know if this is an African American thing, as my parents always talked about it. And I think of it as if you feel something is wrong because your brain is still picking up on cues without fully processing them, if that makes sense. So your brain may be like, something's wrong here, but at the time, you may not be able to pinpoint what exactly is wrong. But anyway, Darian did not want his baby to go to this party. Also, remember, this is in Compton, a city in LA County that is notorious for its crime and drug problem. Compton even has a curfew that states, and I'm quoting this from the City of Compton's website, "It is unlawful for any minor under the age of 18 to be in any public place within the city between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. of the date immediately following." End quote. And of course, curfews like this are just hard to enforce. I had a neighboring town that had a curfew, and it was hard to enforce. There were still kids out. But anyway, there was just no talking Tioni out of going to this party. See, the teen had a rough year. She was missing her mother, who was staying in a rehab center after she was critically injured in a hit and run accident. At this age, your mother is so important to you as you're growing up into a woman. So I just can't imagine that. And so Tioni left with a friend who messaged her on Instagram to go to this party. And this was the last time that Tioni would ever be seen alive. At around 8 a.m. the next day, California Highway Patrol received several calls about a girl's body laying on the side of the 110 freeway on an exit ramp in South Los Angeles. The body belonged to Tioni. Tioni was shot in the neck, and police believe that she was most likely shot somewhere else and then dumped on the side of the road sometime in the early hours of the day. The 16-year-old had been brutally murdered not too long after leaving to go to that party. Now, this tragedy is something that most families do not experience, but unfortunately, this is Darian Jackson's second murdered child. His son, Darian Jackson Jr., was actually shot to death at the young age of 19, only 4 years before his sister's murder. Darian Sr. says in an interview, "I don't know if I can take it. I have no more left in me." End quote. So please, all of you, send your prayers and love to this grieving family who is suffering from these troubling times. Black men and boys are the highest at risk of being murdered in the U.S. And with this statistic of missing and murdered Black women and girls growing since the pandemic, this Black family was in a vulnerable position that is completely unacceptable. How is the next generation of Black people supposed to thrive if we continue to be murdered, and especially when these murders go unsolved with no justice? And now it's time to hear from our sponsor. What's more important than a peace of mind? Nothing. And that's what NordVPN is here for, to give you the peace of mind while you are online. And with all of the threats that you face today on the internet, it is more important than ever to be sure that you have the best VPN you can get. NordVPN is the world's best VPN service, offering the fastest connectivity, the most servers, and next-gen encryption to make sure that everything you do online stays secure. Plus, you can use NordVPN on all of your computers and devices, no matter the operating system. With NordVPN's unlimited bandwidth, you never have to worry about a slow connection either, and plans start at under $4 per month. So grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/believe or use the code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to get up to 70% off your NordVPN plan, plus one additional month for free. It's also risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. So as a mom, literally my only time to myself, my only me time, is when I get into the shower. And today's sponsor, Way, is helping me up my shower game with their Melrose Place Body Cleanser. This cleanser balances out and nourishes your skin. And it just has this really luxurious lather that just turns my shower experience into the spa day that I crave every single day. Experience the new Melrose Place Body Creme and Body Cleanser. Your body, your way. Go to theouai.com and use code BELIEVE, BLEAV, to get 15% off your entire purchase. That's 15% off your entire order at theouai.com, code BELIEVE. And let's get back to our story. Before her death, Tioni's life seemed to be going pretty well. She was a straight-A student, and she was a great golf player, and she loved to dance. Her cousin, Rashida Kinsey, remembers Tioni at her funeral as a vibrant young lady that was just cut from so much that was ahead of her. End quote. Another cousin of Tioni's also remembers her in an interview, saying everything made her laugh. She was a bundle of joy, real bubbly and friendly. She was very goofy, happy. She was always smiling, even when she was crying. End quote. But there is another layer to Toni's story that I wanted to mention, because I wanted to paint a clear picture of her first before I revealed everything. LA County District Attorney George Galson revealed that Tioni was identified as a CSEC, or Commercial Sexual Exploitation of Children, victim. He says in a press conference, there is evidence indicating that this young girl may have been the victim of human trafficking. And this speaks to why we need to do more for survivors of human trafficking, especially children who are exceptionally vulnerable, end quote. And in Tioni's case, she was exceptionally vulnerable. LA Times columnist Erica D. Smith, who has been reporting on Tioni's story since the beginning writes, studies have long shown that traffickers disproportionately prey on those with intersecting issues, such as being targets of racism, transphobia, or being in the foster care system or living in poverty. Black girls who have the added issue of being portrayed as more mature than they are tend to be at the highest risk, end quote. And to me, that is horrifying, especially when you add that to an area with a crime and drug problem. And with her already being a young girl of color, she already had a higher chance of being pulled into sex trafficking. And unfortunately, when I was looking this up, a lot of grown adults, mostly men, were claiming that she was old enough to make that decision. And newsflash, she's not. She was only 16 at her time of death. And so she's technically still a minor and a child. And that's one of the reasons why I say that for last, because I wanted to make that clear. And even if she wasn't a minor or a child, she still did not deserve to be murdered. So far, no arrests have been made. There are no suspects, nothing. But the thing is, somebody knows what happened to Tioni. Someone out there knows, whoever she was with, maybe someone at the party, maybe her friends, someone knows something. Even if they don't know who did it, they may know why, when, or how, or something that we do not currently know. This is currently an open investigation with no known suspects. So there is currently a $115,000 reward for anyone who could provide any information about the murder of Tioni Theus. And if you are listening and happen to have any information, anything at all, literally anything, please report it to the FBI, and I'll leave a number in the show notes. My name is Sophia Talley, and this is True Crime in Net. For more information, including show notes, please visit www.thetrucknator.com/truecrime. And now it's time for our knittermission. So I've had a busy knitting week. First and foremost, I have a pattern release happening next week. I am releasing a mitten pattern, and I don't have the drawstring installed because I kept going back and forth on how I wanted this particular one to be installed. I'm just going to do it as written in pattern, but you'll be able to convert this mitt into a mitten with a drawstring, and then you'll be ready to party. Okay. And so I just been working with that, working with my testers, making sure we get some photos, updating the pattern. I can't wait to update the pattern. I have a new way of updating my patterns, and I'm super excited to try it. I'm going for a more graphic design for this mitten, and because it's a mitten and not a sweater, I thought this would be a great opportunity to try a more graphic knitting pattern layout with more like photos and illustrations and just cute stuff. So I'm super excited for that. Another thing I have been working on was I had my first book signing last week with Weird Sisters Yarn. It was virtual. It was right before halftime. So if you made it, yay. And then you were able to watch Mary J. Blige, Dr. Dre, Eminem, oh my gosh, Kendrick Lamar, you're 50. You're able to watch all that. So we didn't even keep you from that. And it was so fun. In case you didn't know, I do have a book coming out March 1st. It's called Knit 2 Socks in 1. I'll put a photo of it right up here, and you can pre-order it from Amazon, or if you're listening to this after March 1st, 2022, you can find it at the nearest bookstore near you. So yay, that is amazing. Another thing I did this weekend, I had a busy 8 days, guys. Okay, like super busy. And on top of that, I have to watch what I eat. So I've been hungry and busy. So I've been so busy, and I actually did 4 days of Vogue Knitting Live. I taught 4 classes online with Vogue Knitting Live. And in case you missed it, I will be back for live classes in Seattle. So if you're in the Seattle area, there is a chance that you can see me and say hi, because I will be there the whole weekend. I have an action-packed schedule, like literally 2 classes a day. So I think that's 6 classes, but I will have time in the evening. Last time I went to Vogue Knitting Live, I couldn't talk to anyone or see anybody, because every time, like if I had a moment where I wasn't teaching, that moment was spent pumping because my son was only 3 months and he was still in Indiana and I was currently at Vogue Knitting New York. So I still had to pump like constantly. It was so fun. So a lot of people were like, where were you? And I'm just like, I'm sorry, I had to pump. I spent every break, every last moment, I swear, eating and pumping when I wasn't teaching. It was exhausting. And this time I'm happy I'm not nursing or pregnant or anything. So that's going to be way more fun. And I get to see more of y'all. So again, if you're in Seattle, this is happening in April. And I will have a link to that in the show notes where you could sign up and where you can see what classes I'm teaching, or you could just hang out with me. I'm going to try to get a booth somewhere and do a meet and greet or something. I'm going to try to see, not my own booth. I might hijack someone else's, but so we will see. And lastly, the final thing I've been working on this week, besides that mitten, VKL, my first book signing, my book release, I've also been working on my set and sleeve design. I showed some of y'all who were at my book signing this, and you guys seem to like it, which I'm happy because this took forever. But it's essentially a set and sleeve design with a cable, and it is just a super simple, size inclusive, great first time set and sleeve design for the person who's looking for a sweater that would fit you perfectly without, all the excess down here that you would get. And I'm pointing to my armpits, but when you knit circular yokes and raglans, you tend to get some extra fabric because it's not the exact fit to a human body. And though that's okay, some people prefer set and sleeves. Full set and sleeves can be a little bit challenging for beginners. So that's the whole point of this current design, to make a set and sleeve design that's intuitive, that you don't have to be married to your pattern. You can kind of just go with it and it'll be a super easy, beginner friendly pattern. And that's all I have for today. Today's show is shorter than usual because I had some extreme tech support issues all week. I finally got it fixed, but then by the time I got it fixed, I was out of time. But that's why I covered this shorter story that's been on my mind, and I wanted to cover it, but I wasn't sure how to fit it in because it's so short. But I'm happy that I was able to bring attention to it. So please, if you have any information, this story just happened in 2022, early January. So if you have any information that's still fresh in your mind, please, please, please contact the FBI. I'm going to put the number in the show notes. Bye.